French Beninese artist Dimitri Fagbouan works in his French studio. The sculptor lives and works between Paris, Brussels and Cotonou. He is one of the 6 artists from Africa and the diaspora whose pieces were showcased in the Cécile Facoury Gallery in Paris. The French capital has become a stronghold for artists from the continent. It's indisputable that a growing number of galleries that are opening showcase African artists. We can undoubtedly say that more and more so-called historical galleries also represent those who are called African artists. But I think that this scene with 54 countries that make up Africa remains underrepresented. In one of Paris' posh neighborhoods, which is not far from the Champs-Élysées and the famous Triangle d'Or where the world's finest haute couture shops are based, hushed conversations are accompanied by champagne. The diverse public doesn't need to travel to London or New York to see exhibitions with contemporary African artworks. Paris has always been multicultural, just as New York. From that point of view, yes, it is a second home. But because we are in Paris, I am inclined to tell you that we make Paris. We are part of this melting pot that makes things bounce back. It's an energy in which we also take part. It's not just inherent to the city, it's the result of the diversity of these cultural mixes and what they produce. Whenever Carole Nambele Gzavnevski beholds African art pieces, she remembers the trying times when she first entered the business in 2010. The French and Cameroonian gallery owner wishes this renewed popularity will bring a long-lasting shift in mindsets. One can hope that contemporary art with African artists from the diaspora is not just a trend, and that these artists will find a place in the world of art on the global stage and will no longer be labeled as such. Quote-unquote, this is an African contemporary artist. It's an artist. Think about it. Do we ever say a European artist or an American artist? Paris has hosted African contemporary artists since the early 2000s, but according to art experts who spoke to the AFP, Brexit boosted Paris's financial attractiveness. The director of the also known as Africa Fair says famous galleries which weren't based in Paris now have offices in the city.
Relatives and friends of 23-year-old Mohsen Zayani, a young suspected cigarette smuggler who was shot by a custom officer during a raid on Wednesday, chant slogans and bang on a fence outside the hospital where he died in the capital, Tunis. Tunisian prosecutors have reportedly opened an investigation on Thursday into his death. The Customs Service said in a statement that one of its patrols had fired warning shots into the air and at the tires of the car after a crowd of smugglers threw projectiles at officers, where one member of the patrol was badly wounded. The incident came as social tensions grew in Tunisia, where an economic crisis marked by high inflation and youth unemployment has been accentuated by shortages of basic goods. Anti-corruption watchdog condemned the security services, saying Zayani's death was a sin of barbarism and infamy that will haunt the police state.
For the first time since the Human Development Index was created over 30 years ago, it has declined for 2 years straight. The index measures countries' life expectancies, education levels and standards of living. The UN Development Programme UNDP announced Thursday human progress had set back 5 years.
We are now for the second year running seeing a global reversal in human development, and it's happening in 9 out of 10 countries. So that gives you a sense of quite how significant the impact of multiple crises coming together is on human well-being across the world. We die earlier, we are less well educated, our incomes are going down. Just on those 3 parameters, you can get a sense of why so many people are beginning to feel desperate, frustrated, worried about the future.
The report, titled Uncertain Times and Settled Lives, points to the COVID-19 pandemic as a major driver of the global reversion. However, a number of crises, including the war in Ukraine and global climate shocks, have not allowed time for populations to recover.
We are seeing the impact of climate change play out before our very eyes, disrupting lives, disrupting economies. That's why the report is homing in on this challenge of a moment of uncertainty and an uncertainty complex we're dealing with. Yes, we've had disasters before, we've had conflicts before, But the confluence of what we're facing right now is a major setback to human development.
The study strikes a positive note, saying that improvements could be made by focusing on areas such as preparation for future pandemics and insurance to absorb shocks. The administrator of the New York-based UN agency urges to put the focus on economic and societal transformations.
Low carbon, less inequality, greater sustainability, regenerative economies, circular economies, rewarding recycling so that materials get reused, less waste. If you can introduce these metrics into our fiscal policies, how we tax, how we perhaps subsidize, the kind of research we promote, then the transitions in our economies are perfectly possible.
Out of 191 countries ranked in the Human Development Index, Switzerland, Norway and Iceland remain at the top. South Sudan, Chad and Niger sit at the bottom.
Queen Elizabeth II has ruled longer than any other British monarch. Amidst astonishing change and challenges, she remained constant and resilient. She became Queen of the United Kingdom in 1952. She was never destined to rule, but when her uncle gave up the throne in 1936, her life was changed forever. She was crowned, aged just 27, the start of a lifetime of public service.
I shall dedicate myself anew to your service. But I want to ask you all to pray that God may give me wisdom and strength, and that I may faithfully serve Him and you all the days of my life.
And that is what she did. As head of the Commonwealth, she went on countless trips around the world. Praised as a figure of stability and known for her strong sense of duty, during her reign she met more presidents and leaders than any other head of state. With little executive power, she mastered the art of quiet diplomacy. But it wasn't always smooth sailing. In 1992, 3 of her children, Prince Andrew, Princess Anne, and Prince Charles, separated from their spouses. What had started as promising fairy tales became a feast for the tabloids. The family's reputation was at its lowest level in a generation. This wasn't the only damage. A fire destroyed part of Windsor Castle, and the British taxpayers were reluctant to pay the bill. In the words of the Queen, 1992 is not a year on which I shall look back with undiluted pleasure. It has turned out to be an annus horribilis. The death of Princess Diana in a car crash in Paris changed the public view of the monarchy. The shock and public grief were immense. The Queen maintained her characteristic reserve and stayed initially at Balmoral, a decision that left the royal family out of touch with public opinion. But a speedy return to London ensured the Queen remained in the hearts of her public. The monarchy recovered from this turmoil. Royal popularity reached new heights thanks to the Queen's grandsons. Prince William and Prince Harry married commoners, modernised the monarchy, and produced a new generation to capture the admiration of the public. But then in 2020, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle left the royal family, complaining about the British tabloids' treatment of Meghan. They cited bullying and racist attitudes towards the Duchess. The one who stood next to the Queen through all the ups and downs of royal life was Prince Philip. At the time of his death, they had been married for 73 years. She said that he had always been her strength. Queen Elizabeth II was strong, reliable and committed, and the people loved her for it.
The nation got an opportunity to express its gratitude in the Platinum Jubilee, which marked 70 years of Elizabeth's reign. The 4 days of celebration and pageantry brought welcome relief in troubled economic and political times. Due to fatigue, the Queen was unable to attend all events, but she did appear on the famous palace balcony to engage once again with her subjects. An enduring image of a much-loved monarch.